Chapter 1. Revolt at Pezun. Universal Century 0083. Commodore Jamatov Hyman of the Earth Federation Forces established the security force, known as the Titans, to hunt down the increasingly active remnants from the former Principality of Zeon. These forces gradually became the embodiment of the elite under a pennant of Earth supremacy, as their actions pivoted from hunting remnants to suppressing space noids, all under the guise of such a hunt. Their campaign of oppression culminated in the so-called Colony 30 incident in July U.C. 0085, under the pretext of quelling an armed uprising against the Earth Federation government by space noids opposed to such oppressive actions. An active duty unit of Titans injected poison gas into Colony 30, one of the space colonies at Side 2, slaughtering its inhabitants. In reality, an organization against the Earth Federation's political measures of oppression, known as the A.E.U.G, had formed around this time, taking the first steps towards resistance across the Earth sphere. Nonetheless, many Federation officers and men believed that the Titans' advocacy for Earth supremacy was a just cause. It is now Universal Century 0087. The cosmos is once again engulfed in the flames of war. The Earth Federation Forces Instructor Corps. These forces are a unit that researches and develops combat techniques for mobile suit combat. Results from their combat research are, in turn, coded and loaded into the Integrated Maneuver Propulsion Control (IMPC) system of all Federation forces' mobile suits, constantly updating their combat capabilities. For this reason, members selected were those with exceptionally superior mobile suit combat skills, which was necessitated to be qualified over those of regular mobile suit instructors. The Grips War, which intensified into a confrontation between the Titans and the A.E.U.G, was, so to speak, a war between the Earth Federation's own, one involving all of the forces unit. The Instructor Corps was no exception to this. Members of the Instructor Corps were the elite of the Federation forces in a different sense from the Titans, so it was easy to conform to the principle of Earth supremacy, the pennant the Titans publicly advocated. With the moon to their backs, 2 blue mobile suits now made their way back to Pezun after completing their combat space patrol. Lieutenant Cray, is it true what they're saying about that incident? Rumors have been making their rounds on base, and some of the boys are pretty upset about it. Ensign offshore, the baby-faced pilot of one of the blue mobile suits following, and RMS 141 ZQ-1, opens a mid-range laser comms channel as he maintains an eye on their rear. He questioned the validity of the unfounded rumors propagating through all the units that followed the Titans. According to word from the envoy the other day, there's probably some truth that His Excellency Jamatov has been lost. A.E.U.G assassins may have even taken him out. And that's why Brave, Drake, and all of us made the decision. Our Federation forces, and by extension, Mother Earth, cannot be at the mercy of the space noids. Wouldn't you agree? It was roughly 2 months ago. At the Earth Federation Assembly in Dakar, Africa, Kasval Dekun suddenly appeared and issued the Dakar Declaration, denouncing the atrocities of the Titans to the entire world. As a result, this declaration was the first step that would later jeopardize the political position of the Titans, legitimizing the A.E.U.G to take action against them, forcing them to wage an armed struggle against the A.E.U.G, with only their own forces and no support from the Earth Federation forces. During the 1-year war, the asteroid known as a boa coup by the Principality of Zeon, and used as a space fortress, was refortified and christened the Gate of Zidane by the Titans during this conflict. Until just recently, Titan's Supreme Commander Jamatov died under mysterious circumstances in the battle over this fortress. But this fact was kept under wraps. Despite that, rumors about this incident quickly started making their way to all the officers and men of the Titans and all the units under their control. This was the rumor that Offshore asked Cray about. Following the loss of their supreme commander, the Titans seemed to be on the brink of collapse, though in reality this was not the case. While the Titans were ultimately Jamatov's private army, their banner of Earth's supremacy still had the support of many soldiers. Therefore, when the Earth Federation government issued an order for the instructor corps stationed at Pezun to return back under the Federation forces, the discussion among the soldiers was divided over whether to return and watch the struggle between the two sides or to act as Titans. For Earth supremacists, the Earth Federation government's attitude of standing by in the fight against the Titans was seen as pro-A.E.U.G, which meant pro-Spacenoid. Cray's calling the A.E.U.G aliens stemmed from this misunderstanding, and this misunderstanding would later lead to a great tragedy. January 25. Universal Century 0088. Dissatisfied with the top-level decision of the instructors' corps submission to the Earth Federation government, a group of young Earth supremacist officers staged an armed uprising, took control of Pezun, and called for total resistance against the Earth Federation government and the A.E.U.G. This event took place a week after the battle at the Gate of Zidane, and just 3 days prior to the current events. Alarm. Direct hit. Damn it. Rio Roots slammed his fist against the simulator's panel. Today marks the 7th time you've been reported dead in battle. Spaceman Roots. The cold voice of the training sergeant echoed inside the simulator through the microphone. Shut up. You goddamn sadist. In the Nevada-based Earth Federation Forces Nellis Base, intense day and night training was taking place for the Experimental Mobile Suit Unit, striving to develop new and practical mobile suits. Although these new mobile suits were rumored to carry the Gundam title, their true nature remained a secret even to the unit members. Due to their practical evaluation tests being carried out exclusively through simulators and the alternative Zeta plus B-type mobile suit, there were whispers among the team that such mobile suits don't really exist. Roots unlocked a simulator door, kicked it open, and took a deep breath. Hey, bossman. Heard you bit it in combat again, huh? Crypt, with a helmet hanging from his shoulder, grinned as he slapped Roots on the back and slipped into the simulator for his turn. Asshole thinks he's so damn cute, grumbled Roots, as he kicked the door of the simulator. Crypt entered and left the training room. At the same time, a crucial decision was being made in the base's conference room. I can't believe Alice chose him, Carol sighed deeply, facing the 12 personnel files. It might be fate after all. Rio Roots is. The man in the Earth Federation Forces officer's uniform continued, peering out the window through a gap in the blinds. What about the backup personnel? Shin Crypt. However, he's the main operating member for different equipment, replied the young experimental unit commander with a background in technology. The experimental double Zeta, huh? No offense, but on paper, it's not much more than a decoy. Harsh, aren't you, Mannings? But this operation isn't primarily about combat. It's a demonstration. A decoy is fine. It's to intimidate that lot on Pezun. This is war. Demonstrations never end just like that. If our adversaries would be easily subdued by deploying a fleet of Gundam-type mobile suits and a mothership, then fine. But I'm talking about people, not equipment. The enemy has a team of elite instructors, and we have a ragtag group with rookies. Exposing the bluff could backfire. Mannings turned away from the window and raised his voice in reply. With the current uncertainty around Axis, or rather, the Neo-Zeon, we have no choice but to use decoys or anything else at our disposal. In fact, the S-Gundam, a model whose official adoption was halted, still has soldiers training for its operation. We can't let them sit idle. So, we're talking about the military's budget issues. Fine, but these guys can hardly be called soldiers. Can't you compensate for the lack of personnel quality with equipment? Isn't it your mission to improve the quality of your personnel? It should be an easy task for you. There's no need to be so serious. Any further objections will be considered insubordination. As you say, but the operation begins in 1 month. No more objections. Mannings bit his lip. It was always like this. A superior's orders were absolute. However, he couldn't shake the feeling that this operation wouldn't end as a simple demonstration. On the other side was Tosh Cray. One way or another, everything would begin on February 25th, 1 month from now. Alarm. Direct hit. I asked. In front of Crypt, the warning lights lit up all at once, and ominous texts scrolled across the monitor display. Terrifying. Utterly terrifying. Whenever Cray saw the raw images of space projected onto the cockpit of his mobile suit, he couldn't help but feel this way, and he was ashamed of it. Then, without meaning to, his feelings spilled into words. Offshore? Do you like space? Well, its existence, I suppose. I think of space as a place that embodies the state of nothingness in a serious duel. Amidst this vast nothingness, there are places like Earth and colonies where life breathes. When I'm drifting in the nothingness of space, I feel like I can directly sense that life and reappreciate the importance of it. Offshore stammered in response to the sudden question from his superior officer. Nothingness, you say? That's an awfully old-fashioned notion. Do you like space or not? I said I appreciate its existence, Lieutenant Cray. Then what is it? I think there's no place as unnatural as space for humans to live. I believe that humans are meant to stand on solid ground with 2 legs. Indeed, by your logic, the extraterrestrial beings who do not stand on the ground are not human. We, who have made enemies of these beings for the sake of Earth's future, are at least human. When we die, we want to do so on the very ground of our Mother Earth. Yes, Lieutenant. Cray would never admit that his logic was mere sophistry against his own incomprehensible fear of the unknown, the universe. The 2 blue mobile suits captured the guide lasers from Pezun, and as they entered the approach course, they began to decelerate using intermittent bursts from their Vernier rockets and AMBAC. As they entered the forest of seemingly irregularly protruding mooring angles from Pezun, 2 other blue ZQ-9s, which were heading out for their combat space patrol shifts, brushed past Lieutenant Cray's suit with a faint trail of white light. Ever since they had taken control of Pezun, the patrols had been strengthened to guard against the approach of A.E.U.G and Earth Federation fleets. Not only that, but various defense mechanisms were being steadily prepared around Pezun. CSP First Team, prepare for return. The laser communication from Pezun rang in Cray's normal suit helmet speaker. We'll leave the deceleration timing to you. We've set the IMPC autopilot. Understood. We'll guide you from here. The ZQ-9s slowly began their entrance into Pezun's port, grabbing the ceiling brake grips and sliding to a stop about 30 meters in. With no time to waste, Cray headed straight for the Pezun base commander's office. Brave Cod was waiting for him there. Good work. Now, take a look at this. Cod pointed to the monitor on his desk. The high-res video seemed to be a hidden recording of someone. It showed an officer operating a computer terminal. Cray immediately understood the significance. He's one of the technical officers scheduled for return to Earth. Right now, he's desperately trying to download our latest combat data. Caught a rat, huh? Pitiful. Those who rely on machines for combat must really need our combat data. Don't act like it's someone else's business. Weren't you the one who came up with this plan? Hey, by the way, Brave, when is the scheduled transfer of the ones we rounded up back to Earth? At 1600 Earth Standard Time today. We've only managed to load just over 100 onto the transport ship so far. Busy times ahead. What about the statement? I released it under the name New Decides. a declaration of relentless resistance. Shouldn't it be decision if it means a new determination? It's a neologism. Decide also implies opposition, you see. I see. Well, you're the leader. February 22nd, Universal Century 0088. The A.E.U.G's Operation Maelstrom, followed by the Colony Laser Defense Battle, resulted in the Titans' defeat, ending the first phase of the Grips War. However, the Earth Federation government still faced a significant threat in the form of Axis and the Neo-Zeon, even though their forces had been somewhat depleted. Although an early war was unlikely, unifying the intentions within the Earth Federation forces, which still had remnants of A.E.U.G and Titans, was the top priority. If the Federation forces were attacked by Axis during a period of internal chaos, they would be helpless, regardless of their superior strength. The most significant obstacle in this regard was the existence of Titans' remnants and the lunar autonomous city sympathetic to the Titans. To be precise, they were Earth supremacists who misunderstood the Earth Federation government's attitude towards the A.E.U.G. Among them, the group that staged a rebellion and holed up in the asteroid Pezun, with an elite instructor corps as its core and equipped with production facilities and a certain level of military power, was considered the most dangerous, and plans for their early elimination were made. This decision was made within the Federation forces at the same time as the execution of Operation Maelstrom. The Earth Federation forces had to quickly organize a task force to suppress the rebels, now calling themselves the New Decides. However, they could not afford to allocate a large force in anticipation of the battle against Axis. Therefore, the Federation Forces High Command had no choice but to organize the task force as a small elite unit. The newly built Argama-class assault space cruiser Pegasus 3 was assigned as the flagship of the mobile fleet for this mission, and 4 available modified Salamis-class space cruisers were also organized into a Vanguard fleet. This Vanguard fleet was called Task Force Alpha and was under the command of the Earth's Home Fleet, which was on standby at the low orbit station for the cleanup in the aftermath of the Colony Laser Defense Battle. Depending on the progress of Task Force Alpha's operations, the Home Fleet might join the suppression operation. Task Force Alpha appeared to be an elite unit from the outside. However, in reality, it was a paper tiger made up of an inexperienced ship commanded by a newly appointed captain and a collection of mobile suits deemed unsuitable for adoption. At the Earth Federation forces, Baikonur launch base in the Russian region, on February 25th, under a sky dyed red by the setting sun, 5 spaceships, including the Pegasus 3, were waiting for launch time with enormous booster rockets attached. Each spaceship was also equipped with a huge conical fairing, making them appear like 5 pyramids. Eventually, the sky changed from red to blue, then to pitch black, and the countdown was transmitted from the Launch Control Center. The emotionless voice monotonously counted down the numbers. Countdown. 60, 59, 58, 57, 56, 55, 54, 53. On the bridge of Pegasus 3, newly appointed Captain Commander Eaton Heathrow stared blankly at the rapidly changing digital counter on the LCD display. His body was already secured to a seat that had become like a bed. The rest of the bridge crew was in a similar position. There was little to do during the launch, as most of it was automated. The majority of the crew would join at the low orbit station. The 5 pyramids began to prepare for the moment of launch, releasing billows of white steam. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As the metallic voice announced the countdown reaching 0, the LCD display in front of Heathrow flashed to 0. For a moment, the world was dominated by dazzling light and earth-shattering noise. The 5 conical pyramids slowly and heavily defied gravity, gradually increasing their force. The massive group of pyramids reached Earth's satellite orbit. Eventually, the booster rockets detached, and the conical fairings were discarded, revealing the original forms of the Pegasus III and the modified Salamis-class cruisers, their pale gray hulls against the dark blue of outer space, illuminated by Earth's light. Unaware of the difficult mission awaiting them, the Paper Tiger fleet took their first step into the vast sea of space.